Okay, so I was thinking the other day that it would be very interesting to tour to you guys my last PlayStation 4 Edition world to show you how far I'd come from the start to how far I'd come at the end of it. Um, I feel like this world definitely improved me as a player. I actually found things that I liked in Minecraft on this world. I liked to do the redstone element, I liked building, I liked. My plans for this world was very ambitious, and you'll notice as we go in, not a lot of things actually got completed. A lot of projects were left undone. But I think it's very interesting to look at this world. As you can see here, we have my world. Obviously, I'm going to load it up in a creative world because it'll be easier to fly around and give you a tour of everything. So yeah, let's just hop straight into it. So the world actually spawned me at my old base. This was my old base. The spawn chunks was over there. There's a villager, a pillager outpost, and a village. So the spawn was actually pretty decent. Now I built my base here because my original plans was to make this little island here into like my little base, and then have a port going off into the ocean, which actually turned out to be miles away. I thought that it'd be like just over there, but it wasn't. It turned out that it was quite far away, and there wasn't really an ocean in this world. Which is one of the improvements from Bedrock. Everything's infinite, so there's a 100% chance that you will get no matter how far away it is, you will get every biome in your world, which is something that I really like. Anyway, this was my house. This was my first ever go at different shapes other than boxes. The roof took me a very long time. I don't know why it did, but it did. The first time I ever framed anything, and the first time I actually had it raised. So if we go up here, this is the inside. Nothing. It never actually got decorated because when I built this, I just wanted to have a house, and I didn't really want to decorate it much. I just wanted to get straight on with the redstone. Obviously, my storage in here wasn't that good. Up the stairs we had, just the beds, and nothing really in there. Someone actually came on my world and nicked all my diamonds and my beds at one point and never gave them me back, which is why there's no beds. But yeah, it's pretty standard house. I was proud of it at the time. Looking back, it could use a lot of improvements. Like that could be a bit not like less flat. The balcony looks a bit weird. This could definitely be improved. This was supposed to be a watchtower, so I could find it from any point in my world, but yeah, it's not that big, is it really? But it did have something very interesting underneath, which in fact I'll come to that last, because I think the bit underneath it, even though it's broken now, back at the time it was probably one of the best things in this survival area. This was my very basic farm for food, even though it never really got used because I made another base where I got all my food from. This was a wool farm, a wheat farm. As you can see, a lot of things just left untidied and a bit messy. This was my first ever iron farm. As you can see, we've got loads of villagers in the little holding cells, and I think it produced like half a stack an hour, so it wasn't that good. I mean, it was good as iron farms went on PS4. You couldn't really get much better than half a stack an hour, but obviously in here I had my automatic fish farm, which produced quite a lot of things. Here was my iron farm, and if you're wondering why them chests are empty, because we actually had this downstairs area with all the storage. Now this was my first ever storage system, and it could do with a lot better than what I came up with. I had all my things from my fish farm stored in here. I had all my iron here. That was this area here was a little AFK zone if I went AFK overnight or something. But yeah, this was my very first fish farm. This was my very first super smelter, and it was powered by bamboo. And the reason why I had this is because any fish that I got from AFK and overnight, I'd just throw it in there and cook it. This was a bone meal maker that my friend made. I don't know why he decided to put it down here. It would have made a lot more sense up with the farm. But yeah, the iron farm's pretty simple. I guess if you still play PS4, then you could follow this concept here. It's on the Great Escapes channel. the PS4 YouTube that actually got me into playing PS4 Edition of Minecraft. So go follow him. He's only a small channel. He's much bigger than me, obviously, but yeah. So that's pretty much the exterior of the base, I guess. So let's go to the underside. So right now we're inside of the big watchtower. Well, big, I say big, it's not really that big. And this was my switchable water elevator. As you can see, the redstone is exposed, which I actually quite liked at the time. I don't know why. But yeah, as you can see, if you press that button and it switched and source on went, so you can get back up and down. This was something that happened while I was making my new base. I'll explain that in a little bit. But if you go, I don't think I really thought this through when I made this now, thinking about it. But underneath here was my slime farm, where everything got stored in chests and stuff. But obviously, because I never used this area, obviously I blocked it up. And yeah, I'll explain again what that water is in a bit. But I can show you the slime farm is through here. Obviously, it got very full. I think I've got mobs spawning off. But basically, how it worked is that the slimes would spawn on each of these platforms, and the iron golems would attract them over, and they'd jump down and burn in the magma, and then that hopper minecart would pick it up. Obviously, it filled up within like a day, and I didn't even use it that much. But this is the very interesting bit. Over here is my villager trading system, and as you can see, villagers are everywhere. It kind of broke. This broke. The mob cap filled, and I didn't realise that you could actually fill a mob cap back then. Again, like I said, this was where I was sort of finding my feet in the Minecraft community. But yeah, all these was meant to be filled up with villagers, and at one time we had them all filled up to, I think it was this cell here, because we had two other villagers. But while I was building my new base, I had to come here and steal villagers for a project that I was working on, and over time it just eventually broke. If you're wondering what that water sounds is, that's my actual farm that got all of these melons and my pumpkins, which these never filled up because I actually forgot to add a little overflow protection thing, which was my fault. So everything sort of broke. I don't think it's there actually. If I just go more central, then we can show you everything pretty much. So this was my big farm that I was really proud of. This was my melon farm, my pumpkin farm, and my sugarcane farm. As you can see, everything up here still works. It's just it doesn't work on the Bedrock Edition anymore because the pistons are different, and the way this detects blocks is a lot different now compared to how it used to work. But yeah, I spent a lot of time in developing this, and I think it worked alright until obviously the melons, because the melons filled it up really fast. Until that point, everything worked fine. As you can see, look, nothing's getting down there because that hopper is filled with everything. I wonder how much that is actually, but yeah, that would have. The problem was that the hopper's just filled up with items, and I don't have an overflow protection. If I was to rebuild it now, I would have added a dispenser on the end with a with like a what do you call it, a lava, a piece of lava on the end, so when it went in, it just spat it out into lava. But yeah, this was the bit that I was really proud of. This was my first ever village trading, and it actually made me very rich because I never actually had to spend any diamonds, so I actually had quite a few diamonds. But that's it for the starter base, and it's quite a big starter base. I don't know why I made it so big. This is where the new base is, and if you're wondering why I decided to build one so far away from the old base, it's because I wanted one where the end portal was, and the end portal was right underneath this little, well, this was my first big build, and I was also proud of this when I made it. I think it's not perfect. I think it was left very untouched once it was built. Again, I didn't really do much with the interior. I was planning on doing it once I'd finished the big part of the build. There was a creeper explosion, and Yeah, the actual top bit never actually really got completed because I was too busy focusing on other projects, which was underneath. This was going to be a hidden bunker, and it had my villager breeding unit that I don't know why, but it worked really well at the start, but it just slowly began to break, and I have no idea why. But yeah, I can do a tutorial on one of them because I think it still work on Bedrock. I think you could probably make it a lot smaller as well on Bedrock. But as you can see under here, we had manually mined out this entire area, and this was going to be filled with an auto smelter, a better melon and pumpkin farm than the old one, and my storage system. And back then, looking at it, I thought this was a pretty big storage system, and I slowly became to realise, even though this is quite big, it looks big, but it's not big. You can't fit many items into this anymore. Back in like 2012, this would have been a big storage system, but now it's just not. There's too many items. This was my first ever cactus farm. I built it way too big. It was very unnecessary for it to be that big. And if you're wondering what these parts are for, this was my farm storage system that actually only had cactus going into it, which actually filled up. These redstone lamps indicate how full it is, and obviously the top one's filled and the top hopper is filled. But all these were supposed to eventually get filled up. That was gonna be cactus, melon, pumpkin, bones, and then I was just gonna have miscellaneous items on the end. But it never really got filled up because I never finished this area off. This was gonna be a cobblestone farm right here. I actually designed one. It doesn't work on the Bedrock Edition anymore, so I'm never actually going to ever use that in a survival world. But this was going to be where I'd put a cobblestone farm after I'd dug out this whole area. Through here was obviously the end portal, and there was a little nether portal. But other than that, there's not too much to show. I mean, in this area there was another building. If I just go find it now. This was a very small cobblestone farm right here that filled up with stone, cobblestone. We had silk touch pickaxes going off in the lot. This was the tree farm that we made. I can't remember whose design we used. If I find them, their link will be in the description, but I can't actually remember. But this worked really well. It was something daft like 5,000 trees an hour without the use of TNT or withers. Obviously, I had hand and axe mode. It didn't work as well on the PS4 edition. It is more of a Bedrock farm. Unfortunately, though, for whatever reason, it's Bedrock on PC and not on PS4, because the whole way this worked is that you could put saplings into your offhand, but you can't do that on the PS4 Bedrock edition, as far as I'm aware. And you would mine the bottom one out, place the sapling, and mine the rest of the tree out with the diamond pickaxe, and you just leave it going out all night. But you can't do that on the PS4 Bedrock edition, so you have to do it all manually. But yeah, that was my first tree farm, my first little stone farm that we had going. Now this building, I am so proud of this building to this day. It was a very good building. It was heavily inspired by Grian. He is a much bigger YouTuber than me. He plays on the Hermitcraft server. The front is very heavily inspired, and so is this side. In fact, the entire shape was inspired by one of his builds. But the rest, I believe I did without watching his videos. But this was a very proud creation that I made. And then, if you wonder what this is a bridge, and it led out, if we follow through here, into a little water stream which pushed you up, and it put you inside of here, which is the inside of the building, and it was used for villagers. Now the sad thing is, this was my actual creative test world, and I did build that bridge, made sure the observers worked and everything, and I got the all inside bit works, but I never actually got any villagers put in this place on survival, and I spent so long building this, and it really frustrates me because that system in there unfortunately doesn't work anymore. I'm not entirely sure why. It's something to do with the sticky pistons, but basically what would happen is you would land inside one of the cells and the sticky piston would cover it up, and it worked really well. It was a really well worked design, and I designed it all by myself, and yeah, I was very proud of it. And then as soon as I got this bridge done, as soon as I got the bridge done the day after Bedrock came out, and I was so upset when I found out that it didn't even work, because I only needed to build that train system and that one water system and it was all finished. And that made me very, very sad. But this obviously led into this underground area where the villager breeder, oh god, that is very loud, the villager breeder pretty much spat babies out, and it fed them through into this little system here, which would eventually shoot them up into the bridge and into their villager trading system. Okay, so moving on, you may be wondering why I'm back down here, and it's because I spent 10 hours designing a farm, and it was one of the most proudest things ever. And again, it doesn't work in Bedrock, and this really frustrated me because I spent so long designing this farm, and I was building the cobblestone generator just to finish it off. And that was my first attempt ever at a wither farm, and it didn't go too well. I had 3 attempts at a wither farm, and I finally found one that I liked. It is heavily inspired by Exhumavoid's build in the Hermitcraft series, and I managed to make it work on PS4 Edition, and there is a lot of things going on here. But basically all these flying machines would just push them into the middle, and then this middle bit here would push them into this middle bit here, and then these 2 pistons would shove them down here, and they would end up landing in here, and I would just kill them with a sword. And you may be wondering, well, that looks finished, but I can assure you it's not. As you can see here, this is all filled with cobblestone slabs, and the reason being for that is I had to fill out a 280 block perimeter to stop any other mobs in the nether from spawning. And unfortunately I never finished it, and this little bit underneath here is the storage system, because the mob like the drop, there was a lot of drops per minute, and I couldn't, a single hopper wouldn't have been able to catch up with it, so I would have had to build a separate storage system up, and I finally figured out how I would do it. But again, Bedrock came out and I never really got around to finishing it. But as soon as I figured out that Bedrock was coming, I decided to put this project on hold, which is why the cobblestone slabs never actually got put down, because I knew that redstone is very, very different to PS4 redstone, and I didn't want to place a load of slabs down for the laugh. Okay, so moving on to the last part of my world. This is far off from anything else. This is actually the mob farm, and we actually finished this task all in one night. It took something daft of like 8 hours, and I did it on a school night. I regretted it the day after, like, but it was a very, very fun project to work on. It was a mob farm with a flush system in it. Basically we just had this was the hopper timer, and every time it switched, every minute it'd flush mobs off, put them down in here, they would fall down from here and into this magma cube drop. I'd say the only problem with a build like this is if witches spawn, they can sometimes tend to fill up the mob cap, because of obviously they can put fire protection on and other stuff, and it is really annoying, but they do eventually die, so it wasn't too much of a problem. Obviously nothing's spawning now because I've got the world on peaceful, but if I quickly switch that, then things just start spawning in, and it was a really good design. We actually only used it once, which was the funny part, because we spent so long on this, and then we just went on to other systems. As you can see, the minutes pass, they all fall down there, and then eventually they'll all just drop down here. But yeah, I only ever used this once because I lost my elite, and the whole point of this was to get creepers, and I couldn't find a good creeper farm, and I wasn't sure on the spawning mechanics of them either. But this would pick all the items up, put them into these hoppers, and then these hoppers would put them into this very small little design that we had going. this was gonna eventually, I keep saying this, but we had very ambitious plans. We was gonna build a sea base as well, an ocean base that would extend out to an ocean temple or an ocean monument, and we'd have a guardian farm there, and we'd just have an AFK zone in between the two that had just spawned both of them in, and it was very, very ambitious plans, and yeah, we just never got around to doing any of it really. We got the start of the ocean base done with the big mob farm, and if you're wondering why we did it in the ocean, it's because obviously there's less spawning spaces around the place for things to spawn in. Okay, thanks for watching. I hope you have all enjoyed the world tour of my old PS4 survival world. I will be making a new world at some point soon after my hardcore series has ended, which will probably be soon. I've got some plans. I'm probably going to go live tonight. Well, it might be yesterday night, depending on when this video gets uploaded. I'm going to try and upload it today, but it might be Monday when you're watching this. But yeah, I've got very ambitious plans for that hardcore world. So if I've died, then you already know. If this is uploaded on Monday, if not, then expect me to die, because there is some ambitious plans going out tonight on that hardcore world. We're finally going to leave the starter base and all that. Anyway, yeah, as I said, I hope you've all enjoyed this video. Put a lot of time into making it, and I will see you all later.